Hello and welcome to Business Espoo studio. Today we will discuss about how to get startup grant. And I am Saija Äikäs from the Helsinki Region Chamber of Commerce, and I have a special guest from City of Espoo, Aapo Äyräs today. Please welcome.
Thanks for having me. So I'm a startup grant specialist here at Employment Espoo. Those of you watching the video, I hope, and it's meant to cover most of your questions related to the startup grant. So in a nutshell, we decided to have this studio to help foreigners with questions regarding the startup grant itself. So this information is mostly timeless. Only some industry-specific requirements might change over time, but more about that later on.
Okay. Thank you, Aapo. And we will start with that what is actually the startup grant, what it includes.
So the startup grant is a discretionary subsidy that secures the livelihood for a person who becomes a full-time entrepreneur, and it's for the early stages of their business. So decisions, they are made on case-by-case basis and within the limits of our budget. The decisions will be made in about 2 weeks from the submission of all requested attachments. So all of our decisions are based on Public Employment and Business Act, and the subsidy itself is a seed from KEHA Center, not like the unemployment benefits that come from Kela or your unemployment benefits fund.
Okay, so is it so that how long you can get the startup grant? So it's in different periods, or how
Yes.
it works out?
Yes, it comes in 1 to 2 periods. So it's granted in 6-month periods, so maximum up to 1 year. Application for the extension of your startup should be delivered around 1 month before the ending of your first period. Startup grant, as said, is same as the labor force benefit, also known as työmarkkinatuki in Finnish, around 700 euros a month. Startup grant is personal, taxable income, and is paid for a maximum of 5 work days a week.
Okay, so that's quite good, and here you can find actually the conditions for the applicant. But what are the special conditions? You have some limits also for this applications form?
Yes,
or?
The limits are in the further slides, but so in order to seek for the startup grant, you need to have a valid job search status in TE office. We also require to have entrepreneurial experience and skills in the field you are applying for. You can prove this in your CV or resume quite easily. Entrepreneurial training can also be arranged in the middle of your grant season if you haven't already acquired it.
Okay, it sounds good. So what about then the barriers, or who can apply for support? First of all, let's start with that one.
Yes, so pretty much any customer of the office or the municipality tryout can apply. For example, an unemployed person, someone coming from a paid employment, someone graduating from the studies, or whose studies are in their final straight, so their studies can be considered part-time, or a part-time entrepreneur who expands to working full-time. Also, your headquarters and operations must reside in Finland.
Yeah, so you can't. So what about then if we talk about these barriers? So there are some limits and the businesses, it depends about the business type as well, or?
So these are the first barriers to the startup grant. There are 3. They are separated in 3 slides, but here are the entrepreneurial status related. So if your operational business activities have already been started before you deliver the application, it will be most likely denied. By operational, I mean sales and marketing. So please leave the application first, even if it's incomplete. We will ask for the supplementary information if necessary. Also, registering your business to VAT or employer registers are also barriers. However, if you've done this, there's the option for you. We'll discuss this entity in the later slides.
Yeah, it's quite clear. It's good that you have listed these limits or barriers, so they are very easy to check it out there. Yeah. So what about then? Would you like to tell about the application, or do we still discuss about the barriers?
Yes, these are the second slide of barriers to the startup grant, and they are business related. So if you immediately earn a reasonable living from your business, meaning that your company is already profitable or presumed profitable, it will be a barrier to your startup grant. Also,
quite natural when you have in a way startup. It means that it's really real startup, not doing the business
so you're
properly.
Beginning from the scratch. That's the point there.
Point.
Yes. So of course, seasonal business. It's also restricted in the startup grant. So, for example, if you have a summer market in your mind and you would like to sell berries or mushrooms or something, you would get a negative decision because your business must be continuing and full time, not seasonal. And if it's difficult to justify full time employment, for example, if you're just an investor, home investor, crypto investor, stock investor, you might just sit on a pile of cash, and it doesn't really prove your full-time employment. This goes for the network marketing as well. So there's also other industry specific conditions. I'd like to keep this information timeless, so I'll just go through what's currently restricted.
Okay. Yeah.
So at the moment, taxi industry, it's prohibited or restricted because the positive decisions would distort the competition. Also, Foodora and Vault-like platform-based activities will not receive positive decisions.
Okay, that's good to know. And then there are still some obstacles to be found.
Yes, there are still obstacles. So if you have some sort of income, pension, other subsidies, golden handshake that still pays you is an obstacle to the grant. And as mentioned before, you also need to have a resident permit or have it in the Migris processing. And you need to finish entrepreneurship training that can be arranged in the middle of your grant period. Okay,
that's good to know as well. And then the study grant is also one obstacle here. But these are easily to be found then from here to check it out if it's like that.
And yes, housing allowance is not an obstacle to your startup grant. I'd like to add that.
Okay, that's good to know. So what you have to really take into consideration when you prepare the application form?
So for the preparation, you need to have just a couple of things in order. You'll get the best start by booking a time with your local free business advisor and get help with that with the attachments we require. So by minimum, we require a business plan, profitability, sales, and cash flow calculations, and your tax debt certification, so you don't have any debt. We will check if you have default notes, we will check them from the asiakastieto system.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. And of course, CV is important. And what about this? You have a bullet point about negotiate possible financing. So is that something you should be doing before application form, or is it also good that if you have just booked the time for the discussion, or do you check it out, this financing?
So first, when you book an appointment with a business counselor and you'll make your investment calculations, if you mark there that you need some financing for the start of your company, this is of course industry specific. Some industries don't require financing at all, and some require a lot. So it's really industry specific thing. But if you need financing to start your business, then you need to submit a loan contract or pre-contract or a loan promise to us.
Okay, but good to know that you have like the advisors who can give all these details as well, that what you should be doing before the applications are submitted.
Yes.
And what about, you can apply this also electronically or?
Yes, I'll have another slide for that. I'd like to mention that if you're aiming to start a construction industry based company, then subcontract pre-contracts are a requirement for you, because you and we need to ensure that you can start your full-time activities right away.
Okay, that's good. And then if we go further and applying electronically, you can do it via Työmarkkinatori.
Yes, Työmarkkinatori is the place. The process itself is quite straightforward. Just apply via Työmarkkinatori e-services and attach everything required. However, leave us some time to process it, and we ask for possible supplementary information. So leave it about 2 to 4 weeks before you mean to start your business.
Okay, yeah, and it's also good to highlight that before you start the business. So
yes.
Don't start it before. Yes, that might be a barrier then.
Yes, that's one of the key points in startup grant.
Yeah. And what about then entrepreneurship 4-month tryout with unemployment benefit? This sounds, I'm not very into this, so if you can explain to us what is all about.
Now, this is the other option to the grant I mentioned earlier. So you can try out entrepreneurship for 4 months if you have already started your operational activities. Okay. This does not necessarily exclude your right to the startup grant, however. If your business activities are side time during this 4 months period, then you can apply for the startup grant near the end of your tryout.
Okay, but that's good that there is this option as well. And this is also TE office, or yes, who is responsible of this benefit?
Yes, TE office or your municipality tryout. Your responsible officer is responsible for the statement given for the 4 months tryout.
Okay.
So during these first 4 months, you will be supported with unemployment benefits. So when nearing the end, apply for the grant, and we will clarify whether it's already full-time or side-time. If you apply after the 4 months period has ended, your status will be clarified by the unemployment benefits unit. So we suggest applying before the end, because the unemployment benefits unit states you as a full-time entrepreneur much more easily, since they follow the Unemployment Insurance Act, which is different from the Public Employment and the Business Act. So you arrange this tryout period with your responsible TE officer, as said. So leave a contact request there if that's your case. Okay.
And yeah, and Kela also is involved with this one.
Yes, so the 4 months tryout subsidy equals your unemployment benefits. So you seek it from Kela or your unemployment benefits fund, like you would with your unemployment benefits. Now, this is important. If you have filled your employment condition, meaning you are entitled to your daily allowance, your payment will be higher than the labor market support or the startup grant. However, your earnings from the business will deduct the amount of your benefit, such as working part-time job would.
Okay.
In contrast to the startup grant, earnings from the business would not deduct the amount of the grant.
Okay, it's very, very detailed, but that's good. But thank you, Aapo. It was really informative, and it's a lot of issues to be dealt with this grant. But these slides will be, seen, so everybody can check it out. But a few words about the Business Espoo community. Our purpose is to support the vitality of the businesses by offering the best continuously developing services in one place. And here you can see the organizations behind this Business Espoo name. So there is Enter Espoo, City of Espoo, Federation of Espoo Entrepreneurs, Helsinki Region Chamber of Commerce, where I come from, Uusimaa Tea Services, and Enterprise Espoo. And together we try to make our services available for the customers very easily. And we have different kind of services like start a business services, competence development, grow your business, recruitment assistance, internalizations, and change situations. We help companies. And contact details you will find from the next slide. And if you will have any further information needed, please contact us. And thank you, Aapo, and thank you for this.
Thank you for having me.
Good information, and hopefully we will have a lot of new applicants, and you give advice there for them. Thank you.
So you can reach the Startup Grant Decider group via startup@espoo.fi, or if you have any other matters, you can reach Business Espoo via info@businessespoo.fi, where you'll be directed forward. And I hope this studio was conclusive, and it will be available for you until there will be drastic changes in law regarding what I just spoke about.
Yes. Thank you, and speak to you later.
Thank you.